Hey guys, happy Thursday. I want to talk about a topic about fantasy versus reality. It's a conversation that I've been having lately with a few of my clients and actual friends about the differences between living in a fantasy and being in reality. And I want to get into more detail in my YouTube upload, but also if this is on Facebook, just keep watching. Otherwise, click the link in my bio on Instagram to continue watching about these cool topics around fantasy versus reality. Okay, cool. So, what's the difference between the two is the way we live in a fantasy world. It's an easy conversation flow about ideas and structures and things that you want to do. It's where it all starts, really. But the difference between a reality and a fantasy is people have this fear about turning the fantasy into a reality because they have to actually show up. And what I mean by show up is there's a great cool term around vulnerability, which means the courage to be seen, to show up and do things. And I think that's where a lot of us, I've fallen into it myself many times. Funnily enough, I'm actually in a little position here where there's a moment of a reality around a fantasy, and I'm just assessing all of it to make sure it actually can happen and come true. But the other fantasy around things is how we like to stick around topics of conversation in our fantasy, where it's people looking to start a business idea and they have everything ready to go. The ideas are amazing. The difference is they're scared for the reality to happen because the fear of failure will happen then. And I think that's when most people are scared to take that chance and that faith of ability to do. And the funny thing is you've actually got all the information there from your fantasy ideas. So why not jump into it and do it? And it's easier said than done. And I had actually someone who is like a friend but also helping at the same time. And the reason I want to stay in fantasy before coming into a reality is they actually want the idea to stay in the fantasy because they're hoping on the other end that the person who's going to make it a reality actually doesn't deliver, and therefore they can stay in a comfort zone and stick to the fantasy. Oh, this could have happened, but because of that person or because of this, therefore I can't do it. But the idea was great, and I think it still can work. So they're hoping for a rejection on a superficial front, but really deep down, they're really dying for it to happen and be accepted and go ahead and do it. How many of you out there actually have that kind of moment or that feeling of that actually happening? Sorry, this is my dog just next to me. Down. I've got to stop putting my dogs in my videos. And so, how many of you out there actually are going through a process where you're in a fantasy moment and you want it to be a reality, but you're scared to take that leap and be seen in order to fail to succeed? Failure's it's a powerful word, and we all fear it. We fear a lot of other components around stresses and anxieties and stresses in ourselves, around self-worth. How many of you feel wholehearted in yourself to feel that it's okay not to be perfect? It's alright to have imperfections and knowing that it's not always great. How many of you are like that? I know myself, I've been through it many times. I've actually, for many years, have misunderstood the imperfections around things, and it's okay to fail, and it's okay not to be the best at something. We all want to know things. We don't like not knowing things. That's part of human society now, how we work in our DNA. But it's okay. And so I think to grasp the concept between your fantasy and your reality is very, very important, because you're already there. That's what's amazing about the fantasies. You've actually created the whole entity. All you got to do now is take that one step closer to that end product and do what you really want to do. Do what you fantasize about. That's the beauty of the imagination. You have it, so why can't you go and do it? And don't worry about the consequences that come along, because in the long run, who knows what you can achieve from that, from having that self-confidence in yourself to do it. Isn't that a great feeling? I know that is, because when you have a little win, it's an amazing feeling. When you have a big win, it's even a bigger feeling. So why can't you try and have these wins along the way? Now, the fail is a losing mechanism, but it's a learning phase as well to quickly adapt and learn to do what you got to do next. If I look back on all the things that I've failed on, I feel like I'm a bit of an expert now on failure. And I'm okay to talk about it because I understand the processes of becoming better as a person, learning and growing as an individual, and knowing how then to execute things slightly better each day. And it's those small percentages to improve yourself in order to become a better person within your personal life and your professional life as well. Um, so that fear of failure is okay. It's fail quick to learn quick to grow and move forward, um, and it's okay to do so. I mean, Jesus, we wouldn't be here if we didn't fail so many times as a child. I mean, think about, I mean, how many times as a child fall over before it starts walking again? It gets up and it goes and goes and goes. And at that time, we don't understand that the failure is what's teaching the young child in order to walk properly. So it has no fear around that moment. So why can't we have that inner child in us? That's that little lion to continue in order to grow and become the best that you can as that person. I think we've got to start bringing that back in ourselves. So reality, folks, is be real, be yourself, accept who you really are, and that's an amazing part of you because you have that skill set that no one else will. And whether it's in a business or a relationship or whatever it may be that you're seeking, and back your own ability and back your own mindset because you're the one that's created that idea in the first place. Whether it's with other people or whatever it is, it's your idea. So do it. Back yourself and do it, and escape that fantasy because the fantasy in the end isn't a reality, which is what I'm saying. But if you take the imagination element out of fantasy and keep it to a logical process in reality, you're on an amazing journey and you're going to fulfill things that you never thought you could. And there's always this saying around how, oh, how do you, this person's not good enough for this, or that person won't be good in that. How do you actually know if the person hasn't gained full confidence in themselves to dare to try things? Only then will you know if the person can or can't do it. That's what's amazing about it, is the ability to believe in yourself to do it. I'm a big believer, if you give someone full confidence in any industry, whatever they may be doing, who knows what they can achieve until they've given that opportunity themselves first. I hope that kind of makes a bit of sense around a fantasy and reality, and how people need to take that step across fantasy into a reality zone and fulfill what you're doing, because you're just around the corner from reaching amazing, great heights of what you are capable of, and you don't know it because you're relying on a fantasy where people are letting you down in it because you're not having the confidence to get up and go and do it. Back yourself. You're the one in control, nothing else. You can't control any other circumstances. If it fails out, figure a solution. Go somewhere else. Figure it out. You have the capabilities of figuring shit out every single day. Do it. If anyone's out there who's in that situation, who's stuck in a process between fantasy or reality, or is in the reality but is finding it a hard time, please DM me. Love to chat and share some amazing stories and concepts. Thanks for listening. Ciao.